This week, we're talking cider. Welcome to Beer in Front, part of the Odd Pods Media Network. Every week, I'll talk about a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way while we get those check-ins and badges. Some weeks, I'll talk about a new beer that has potential to be a classic. Being the Chicago beer guy, I'll also talk about great craft beer in the city of Chicago. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. That's Beer in Front, and it's coming up now. Welcome to the January 25th edition of Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris, and this is part of the Odd Pods Media Network. I thank you for listening every week, catching the YouTube clips and supporting the show. Anyone who does a podcast, we hear this term, it's called a call to action. We hear this a lot. I hate it. And even more so when a podcast host uses that term speaking to you, the person that's listening. It just annoys the shit out of me. However, I need someone's help, so this is a call out. If anyone out there has a connection in Japan and that person can snag me a can of Zima, let me know. It's only available there. You can't get it here in the States anymore. So if anyone has a friend or if you're listening in Japan, please let me know. I will gladly pay for it and the shipping. So if anyone knows someone that can get me a Zima, I would greatly appreciate it. Chicago Cider Week starts next week on the 31st and runs until February 4th. You could head over to chicagociderweek.org for more details. On the show this week, I'm going to feature two ciders from great Chicago places, Eris and Right Bee Cider. Now, you might be thinking, cider in Chicago? You guys don't grow apple trees there. Well, you might be right, but in Chicago, we make stuff, and we make stuff happen. So yes, Chicago is a fantastic cider town, and Right Bee and Eris are two places that make good stuff happen. I have a new merch company out. I have some cool new stuff on there. I'm going to include the link over in the show notes for you to check out if you're interested in grabbing some wonderful Beer in Front merchandise. This bronchitis is finally almost done. I'm probably at about 95% right now. Everything is good. I talked about last week how I had to be rushed to the ER to get EKGs and shit like that done. So I have an appointment with my regular doctor, I think in a week and a half or something like that, to get that checked out, and we'll go over the results. But, as long as your regular doctor is not saying, hey, you need to get in here now, I'm not too worried. So hopefully in a couple weeks I'll have answers of what's going on with my ticker, but I'm not worried one bit. Over the weekend, the Designated Quizzers podcast, they dropped their episode featuring myself. I was on there, and we were talking beer and Weird Al Yankovic with Lauren over at Beard Al. So look for the Designated Quizzers podcast if you're not tired of listening to me after this show. Try January is winding down, and I'm not going to have a non-alcoholic version this week because I'm talking about ciders, and if you want a non-alcoholic cider, I guess you could just drink apple juice. So there'll be no non-alcoholic versions of what I'm drinking this week. But if you participated in Dry January, congratulations. Hope everything worked out for you. And welcome back to Drinking Beer next week. There wasn't a lot of beer news, but I did see a couple things that caught my eye. There's a brewery in Detroit. They're called Atwater Brewing, and, well, they didn't, but robots came up with a recipe and they released it, and it's called Artificial Intelligence IPA. This is an IPA that's made with Centennial, Citra, Amarillo, and Hull melon hops. The recipe was developed by a new AI chatbot that I guess is big in the AI community. So I guess they were playing with this bot and asked it to come up with an IPA recipe, and this is what came out. From what the brewers said, that it's an approachable, hop-forward IPA. So if you're in the Detroit area, look for Atwater Brewing and try their new AI IPA. Sierra Nevada has come out with a new one in their Little Things series. This is called the Juicy Little Thing IPA. This is jammed with dry hops to supercharge its freshly picked fruit flavor. This is available until May, so look for Juicy Little Things from Sierra Nevada. I mentioned on the intro that next week is Chicago Cider Week. One of the beers in front is a cider in front. This is local in Chicago. This is one of my favorite spots. This is from Eris. This one is called Pedestrian. It's dry, crisp, and tart, like a glass of Granny Smith. I'm looking forward to this. I've had this before, but it's been a while. Eris is located right off of the Irving Park Blue Line. If you're traveling to Chicago, you could jump on the train, but they're located at 4240 West Irving Park Road. It's a woman-owned business, which I like as well. So let's crack open Pedestrian. Oh, Pedestrian is a nice, beautiful, golden color. Good carbonation here. Obviously, it's not a beer, so there's no foam. Yeah, it smells tart. I don't know if you could put a smell on tart, but it smells like a good tart Granny Smith apple. Oh, yeah. That's really good. Very refreshing. Yeah, that's delicious. And this is just so good. You can knock these off all day. I'm trying to look on the can. This is 5.6% alcohol. There's a slight aftertaste, and I'm trying to put my finger on what it is. I mean, it's very good. It's not like there's an aftertaste in a bad way at all. This is delicious. It's a delicious cider. No, it's just very good. This is just an excellent cider, something I could see drinking multiple, ones in the same night. It's not like, oh, this would be a one and done. This is something like, oh, I'd like to have some more of this. Actually, I need to head over to Eris because next week on February 2nd is their 5th anniversary party. They're going to have things going on all day next Tuesday, February 2nd. So I park pretty close to the Irving Park train station. I might have to take a run after work and try Pedestrian on draft. They've also won some GABF beer medals as well, so it's not just a cidery. You could pick up beer there. Their beers are excellent as well. The food is good. So happy 5th anniversary to Eris. If you see in the Chicagoland area the Pedestrian, by all means, put it in the cart. It's a delicious cider. If you're looking for something different than beer, I think you'll enjoy this one, especially if you enjoy Granny Smith, more tart things. You will like Pedestrian.
Hey, it's Dalton.
I'm Tony.
And I'm Sam.
We want to tell you about Big Ten Plus 4.
Do you want to hear football talk that doesn't only talk about the SEC?
Are you tired of always hearing about how the Big Ten doesn't perform in the Big Dance?
Then we're the show for you.
You can catch us each week live on the ASAP network.
And later that day on Odd Pods Media, we bring you college sports with a Big Ten flavor.
Big Ten Plus 4.
College sports with Midwest perspective,
blue collar, and blue blood.
I'm Tony.
Do you want to hear football talk that doesn't only talk about the SEC? And you can catch us each week live on the ASAP Network. College sports with a Midwest perspective, blue collar and blue blood.
When you're done listening to this, head over to my friends at Big Ten Plus 4. You could get all sorts of details on Big Ten college sports action. Head over to Big Ten Plus 4. The next beer in front that I'm going to have is from one of my favorite places, some of my favorite people in Chicago. This is Right Bee Cider. This is their rosé. This is a hard apple cider with rose hips, hibiscus, raisin, and currants in it. It's a limited release. I have not told you the Right Bee Cider story and how Ruby and I are together with the small thanks to Right Bee Cider. All right, strap in. This is going to be a long story here. So, Ruby and I met via online dating back in 2016. We were both on OkCupid at the time. Ruby, I was getting home from work. I worked nights at the time. I got home. I pull up OkCupid. Yeah, you're just looking. You see the same people, blah, blah, blah. So Ruby, she was about to shit can the whole app. Was tired of the whole scene. Thankfully, she didn't, because she got a message from me. I'm scrolling through. I see Ruby on OkCupid. Now, you put like your best pictures up there. You're not going to put a picture when you just woke up. So, I mean, I've got good pictures. You put your good pictures on OkCupid. So Ruby had a picture when she was on vacation, and she was at Alcatraz at the time, and they must have went to the Cheesecake Factory ahead of time. So one of the pictures that she had, she was at Alcatraz with her like takeout bag of Cheesecake Factory. So my opening line, being Mr. Suave over here, was like, well, you must have been a model prisoner to get Cheesecake Factory in the joint. So she's going on the app to delete her profile, sees the message from me and says, well, what's not to like? I need to talk to this charming fellow. So we talked for a couple days. We both agreed, and it was her idea. We need to meet right away instead of chatting on the app, texting, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I'd like to go to this place that is called the Bad Apple. It's a bar, restaurant here, and actually we now live right down the street from there, but she lived near there at the time. So she's like, I'd like to go there because they have this cider. Have you ever had Right Bee Cider? And I'm like, no, I haven't. I'm more into beer, but I like ciders. So she's like, well, we have to go because I know this place carries Right Bee Cider. So we met at the bar. We had the cider. It was good. And I'm thinking to myself, and I have mental health issues. I have issues. I'm thinking, this date's not going well. I'm trying to put on the beer in front charm, and I didn't think it was working. But lo and behold, like she gets up to go to the bathroom, and I'm thinking, oh, fuck. She's going to take her purse and just leave out the side door. I'm never going to see her again. And I'm going to have to pay for this damn beet salad. And I don't even like beets. But she got up, gave me this little kiss on the cheek. And that kind of surprised me because I'm thinking, oh, I'm not putting on the good charm here. I'm thinking she's going to bail. But she, like Dave, gave me a kiss on the cheek. And here we are, almost 7 years later, happily married. And part of it is thanks to we met up because she wanted to go to a place that had Right Bee Cider. Now, we met the owners, Charlie and Katie, maybe a year or so later over at the Northman Bar when it was open here in Lincoln Square. And great people, talked to them, told them the story. And right before we got married in 2019, I mentioned to them that we were going to get married, and they were like, well, stop over. We'll give you a couple 6-packs for like the reception. And it turns out that Charlie and Katie, the owners of Right Bee, have the same anniversary date, which is May 17th. So if I ever forget my anniversary, I'm going to contact Charlie and Katie and like, by the way, what's your anniversary just in case? But I don't forget. But if you're in the city of Chicago, definitely check out Right Bee Cider. Now I'm going to crack open the rosé, and let's have this one right now. The rosé is a really nice pinkish orange color, maybe more towards the pink. Good carbonation on here. I mean, there's no foam, like I said. It's a cider. There's not foam like a beer. But it smells great. I get a lot of like the currant here. Just from the aroma, I don't get a lot of the hibiscus or rose hips. I'm getting more of the currant and maybe a little of the raisin, but the smell is terrific. Wow, that's really good. They say like on the can it lists like a chart if it's from dry to sweet, and they say this is dry, but I do get a lot of sweetness here as well. So if you like things more on the sweet side, don't look at the can and say, well, this is dry, I'm not going to like it, because I think you will like this one. I get a little of everything here. I get a little of the rose hips. I get a little of the hibiscus and the raisin. It's perfectly blended. I really like this one a lot. Now, they say this is a limited release, so in the Chicago area, if you see it, definitely I would put this one in a cart. This is delicious. I'm not sure if they distribute like throughout the country, but if you need something from Right Bee, get a hold of me. We'll work something out. I could always send you some beer mail, cider mail. This is that good. So I would definitely put it in the cart if you see anything from Right Bee. I like all of their ciders. They had a clementine. I don't know if they still put that one out. I had that maybe a year or so ago that I really liked. Their semi-dry is delicious. Everything they put out is great. The owners are really good people. So put Right Bee Cider in the cart. Another great cider from the city of Chicago. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this week's episode of Beer in Front. I thank you very much for listening. Please head over to ChicagoCiderWeek.org for more details on Chicago Cider Week. Have a great week, everyone. I'll see you next week on Beer in Front. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet.